enabling also research and business partners to take advantage of these ideas to develop something new and, of course, services. This is achieved by facilitating the access of the data, so basically the Copernicus data, and with complementary data collections also, as we plan to be able to connect to the data that Airbus got through other applications like One Atlas that you may know. So what is SoBlue? As I said, it's a unique collection of data. Right now, we have only the Sentinel data and the core Copernicus services that I will detail a little bit after. But we plan also, as I said, to inject the data from One Atlas. So all the Pleiades, Spot, 6 and 7, Terasa X, Tandem X, all these kind of data that are complementary in the sense that they get a better resolution than the one of Sentinel. So what is important here is our motivation is to leave the third parties concentrate on what they do best, developing their service, and we can propose and help them for everything, for commercial exposure, for the billing, the rating services, KPIs, and all the managed services that you can find in regular cloud, I would say. So, of course, we can accompany all the third parties and the users on various thematics. So the forestry, the agriculture, the blue economy, the tourism, and we have really a big insight on that and experts that can help third parties developing their service on that topic. Of course, as I mentioned, we not only provide cloud services and data, but we can accompany the third parties in order to develop a complete solution. So we have experts, cloud experts, but also data experts, scientists that can help bringing the best value from the data, cross the data, and make appear new services and help you developing new services and applications. So these are the basic packs that we are offering to the third parties and the users. It's okay for everybody?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So summed up in one slide, what we offer, it's a multi-source data access, processing on demand, our cloud resources. As you may know, our cloud is based on Orange, so it's more or less a standard OpenStack platform. We offer tailored solutions. So if you need Kubernetes clusters, if you need 100 VMs, we can do that for you. We offer Nurse Observation Toolbox. So you will see that this is part of the offer for this hackathon. I will come back on that later. And of course, a lot of backend services. As you are mainly developing cloud solutions, you will certainly need Elasticsearch, Redis, etcd, MongoDB. So all that stuff, we get it already deployed, and we can deploy this solution on your tenant in a Kubernetes cluster. So how to get to SoBlue? This is quite simple. Just point your browser on soblue.eu. You will face the SoBlue website, and on this website, you will get everything you need to start working with the SoBlue APIs and the information that you can get from this website. So particularly everything about documentation. So all the APIs are documented, and you will find some useful tutorial that can help you discovering the APIs and making your first code. So this is all in the section do it yourself. You can also browse the offer to see what are the different offers that Soblu proposes. Of course, there is a free offer that lets you discover the interfaces and access the data, download it. But as far as you want process the data, you will need more or less a tenant in the cloud that can be put at your disposition and where you are going your processing. This is for the Soblu website. What do you will find in Soblu? So this is the list. It's pretty big of the data we have now. So in our catalog, you will find the Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2 data, Sentinel-3, ESA, and EUMETSAT also, so the marine and land products. Which is ongoing right now at this time is you will find also in the catalog the marine CMEMS and CLMS, the global land collections, which are the core Copernicus services. In the coming months, until the end of this year, we will add Sentinel-5P and Sentinel-3 Synergy. This doesn't mean that during the Copernicus Hackathon, you cannot access this data, for instance, Sentinel-5P, because everybody can download the data from the Copernicus Hub. We will complement our offer with others Copernicus core services, so namely the emergency, the CAMS, and the C3S. We will add also, as I mentioned on the first slide, the One Atlas high resolution data. So basically Spot 67, Pleiad, Terasa, and Tandemix. We will also introduce the Muscat products, which are a new version of L2A, so the same based on the Sentinel-2. And you will get the L2A Snow and the L3A, which stands for the cloudless on certain zone. And everybody will have the opportunity to select the zone he wants and create a mosaic cloudless on Sentinel-2 data. Thanks to our Orange partner, we will be in the position to offer also the Flux Vision collection, which is anonymized mobile localization data. So it means that you will have access to all the position and some information, tender, age of the people who got the GSM opened. As far for the local storage, so right now we have more or less 2 petabytes of Sentinel-2 L1C data in our local storage. So it makes it start from November 2016 until now. Of course, this will provide you with a faster access to the data, faster comparatively to the scientific hubs. And ongoing, we are adding also Sentinel-1, Sentinel-3, and Sentinel-5P products on our local storage. So here you will find all the APIs that people can use. So the first one is the web UI of the catalog that allows to discover the product, see the quick looks, the footprints, and of course, download the data. Just to mention, for the download, you need to be registered, and this can be done through the Soblu website. We have also some, I would say, traditional discovery APIs, so the WFS, CSW, a search, working on research, and of course the open search. To browse or to display the data at full resolution, people can use the WMTS. So this works right now only for Sentinel-2 L1C products. And of course, you can download the data through various APIs, so the download, and if you need only the quick look or the thumbnail. Furthermore, as I mentioned, through the Soblu website, you have access to the documentation. So I put here the 2 useful links that are the start where you can find the documentation. So one thing that would be very interesting, it's I think the data download tutorial that takes a user using the APIs and looking how it works and how you can browse the data and download it. And if you want to go further, of course, you can consult the full documentation as the URL mentioned. On the next month, two major APIs are incoming. So the WMS and the WCS for Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 products. And also for the Sentinel-1 L1 GRD. So our catalog looks like that. So you have, of course, a map, various filters that can be set. You have at the bottom a time window that you can select products only for July 2018, for instance. And on the right side of the screen, you can see some selections that have been made where you see all the complete metadata, or not complete, but an extract of the metadata available for the items, and also the quick look. So what we will provide for the hackathon of Danube Hack. So there are 15 tenants. In each of these tenants, you will get 2 virtual machines, 250 gigabyte of SSD storage, and up to 15 gigabyte of outgoing traffic. It's based on the Linux OS, it's Xenia, Ubuntu 16.04. On each of these VM, actually, you will find, or you will get a virtual desktop. And on this virtual desktop is accessible from a browser, a standard browser. And when you point to this URL, you enter the virtual desktop, and you will find a collection of tools. So ISA-Snap, BRAT for radar stuff, the Orfeo toolbox, the Zen2 core processor if somebody wants to make L2A. You will find also QGIS 218. You will find the support of JDAL library. Actually, it's 221 and not 21. Various development platform and compiler. So you will get Eclipse Neon, the C++, Java, Python 2.7 and 3.5. Some scientific computation tool, a Jupyter notebook, and RStudio. There are other tools, but I think people will discover them. So the desktop looks like that. So you have a traditional X graphic window where you get all the tool I mentioned, and people can use it freely, knowing that you are in this virtual machine, you can become root. So if people need some other stuff, they can just install them with classic command of Ubuntu, apt-get, install, etc. Oops, sorry. So the virtual desktop, as I mentioned, are accessible from a URL. You get here the username and password that have to be put on the login window. So the username it's guacamole username, and the password guacamole password. As I mentioned, you can become root on your desktop to install whatever you want. And in order to be able to download the data, you just have to point to the SoBlue website, create your own account, or by providing your Google account or creating a new identity through iWelcome. You generate your API key, and with the tutorial, you will be able soon to download the data and make processing with JDAL or whatever. So the tutorial I mentioned, if you want, I can make you a tour to the data download tutorial. I think, Martin, is something that you wanted.
Yeah, excellent. Definitely. I'll come back to you if.
I will try. I think I can share my.
Okay, let me just say that if you finish the sharing, then I will directly ask Angel if you can take the sharing on your side. And meanwhile, if we will do this technical switchover, I first of all thanks a lot to Bruno for sharing of this information. And
do you want to see the tutorial and how it goes?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't properly understand. Yeah, I mean, if we still have some time, so if you can briefly show us what's there, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm trying to share this application. So it is share. Okay. So this is the data download tutorial. So you find in introduction the list of the various endpoints that I have already mentioned. So for the download, for the open search, for the search, for the WFS service, etc. And in this tutorial, we help you setting up, first of all, as you see here, your API key. So my understanding is that there is a link. I don't know where. So this points you to another tutorial that explains how you go to the My account and generate your API key. Here you see the simple prototype of a call of an API, and you just see that if we want to be authenticated, we just have to provide in the authorization header the secret of the API key we have just generated. So as I mentioned before, only the download API requires authentication. All the other can be done freely without registration. Here you have a little example of get capabilities of the WFS. So I go. Something important for people who want to make some search with what we call an external ID. And the external ID is the name of a product. So for instance, S2A, MSC, MSI, L1C, etc. So with this kind of queries here, you can get all the products that match the criteria product name, which is in fact a name of a product that you want to hit. Here to get a quick look, here to access the particular metadata of a product. Here you have a complete tutorial on how I inject my API key in order to download physically a product on my machine. So these people can do it, of course. And here you have more ambitious, I would say, tutorial that show to the users how they can use geo names to select the data they are going to download. Of course, this example can be enhanced in order to use the same technique to select the data with geo names, with bbox, with time window, with everything you want, and to get all the various definitions or parameters that you can enter in the filters of the query. You just have to point your browser to this URL here, and you get all the filters that our open search API supports. So it's a bit more long. And for people that want to go a bit further, you can go to the API documentation. And here you have the complete documentation of the various API provided with some examples and the various written codes that you can experience. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Should I stop sharing?
I just wanted to check, I saw that you had one more slide, so you want to go back to that slide, or more or less you already addressed that?
No, it's all. Yes, I had one more slide, but it's more for you maybe.
Okay.
It's the list of the machines and how to access them.
Okay. Cool.
Do you? I can just make a focus on that. So this is for you, for the organizer of the hackathon. Here are the names of all the machines that you can access. So for instance, the virtual desktop is accessible on this URL. And what is important to know is that these two machines, 26571 and 26572, are part of the same tenant. Okay.
Perfect.
So this is, you have to distribute it to the people of the hackathon, and then we'll access their virtual desktop from their browser.
Excellent. Really many thanks, Bruno, for all the information you shared with us. I have to admit that I've spoken yesterday with Max from ESO, who was also last weekend on this first hackathon taking place in Netherlands. And you already mentioned that you were there. And one of the sort of challenges he encountered was the fact that participants were from the beginning a bit struggling in the way how to properly understand how to access the data. So I think that the way how you shared with us this type of essential information might be very useful for the participants of our hackathon, and I'm sure that also for those who will organize the rest of the, I think, 8 hackathons in this first group of events. So with that, once again, many thanks for time being. I would like to also ask the other participants if they have some really specific question to address directly to Bruno. Please go ahead. Okay, I see that there is some question in chat, but Tomasz, if you can also present it by yourself, try. And if okay, you cannot speak, so I'll try to reproduce it. It's let me first of all share it with all of you, but I'm sure you can see it because you might be able to see the chat. Okay.
Okay. Is it possible to download individual files?
Can you see it, because I lost that chat now?
So the question of Thomas.
Yes.
Is it possible to download individual files of a product? No. So this is not possible for the time being. You have to download the entire package and then select the data you want.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Any additional question?
I've got a list. Okay, where do I start? Let me start at the bottom. Quick question to the open search. Is this in any way related to Open API or based on any sort of standard?
It should.
It would be nice, but is it?
Yeah, the goal is should be compliant to the open search standard. Yes.
Okay, but I mean, right now, Open API has been the main direction that at least a lot of the spatial things are going. I'm not familiar with OpenSearch yet. I'm not clear how this is related to OpenAPI. Okay, next question. The download is all the OpenSearch, to my understanding, and in what format is the data downloaded? This is unclear to me.
It's a zip.
Yeah, a zip contains something. What's in the zip?
Okay, so basically, as you can download the Sentinel-1, 2, 3, inside the zip you get the original safe as took from the SciHub or the data hub that we are harvesting.
Okay, so it's one-to-one Sentinel data the way it is, and no real. I'm trying to see what support is there, what standardization is there. I mean, I come from the Inspire side where we're highly standardized. Could you go back to the slide with all the products? Because I've got a question related to that also. Okay. That one. Could we translate this from Sentinel speak into something that anybody else can understand? I mean, I come from the observational data domain, but I'm in situ terrestrial.
Okay.
I am totally lost, and if I take a look at this at the hackathon, I will take another look and then go for a beer.
Okay. So for Sentinel-1, it's a radar instrument.
No, don't explain it to me now. What we need is at the hackathon, if we want any kids playing with this stuff, we would need to turn this slide around from Sentinel-1 to I don't know what, and all sorts of acronyms which are clear to people strongly involved in Copernicus, and for the rest of us are psychobabble. No, and could we spin this slide around to say, we have marine data, we have terrestrial land cover, we have this and that, turn it around to the type of product, what is vaguely there, and then list which sentinels would serve this. Because if I go through this list, I will spend all weekend until I finally found the data source by Sunday evening.
Actually, I completely agree with you. But here the exercise is to be precise as possible through the people which are organizing the hackathon. And as my experience in the last hackathon in Leiden, some people were here to explain to the hackathoners what you can do with L1 GRD. This is Sentinel-1 data, radar, blah, blah, blah. And here are the applications that you can do with that data. So I think we are mixing things. There are things that we are providing in terms of SOGU, and here is a complete list of data we provide.
Okay, no, sorry for that then. One final question, and I will be quiet. Everything pertaining towards coverage service goes towards the future and will not be part of the hackathon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to jump in regarding the data, not the upcoming data, but the actual data. I will be there during the hackathon, and I would probably be able to explain most of them. I don't have much experience with the UMETSAT data, the Sentinel-3, but the others shouldn't be a problem. Those data which are listed there, they are basically the raw Sentinel data which are provided, and we should be, or I should be able to explain what to do, what can be done with them.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Yeah, this is one of the things which I'm very happy that you will be able to get more deep depth insights on Saturday morning. And yeah, going back to Katie, thanks for touching this point, because the main, at least my understanding and motivation, is that we will have very heterogenic participations, from really completely newbies to people who are with really depth knowledge. And with that, I'm sure that also for Bruno and all of us, we are trying to find the best way how to communicate sometimes complex topic in a very simple and easy digestible way. So yeah, just for all of you, bear that in mind, that we would really like to do with this event the best we can do, and that's the main message, that for everybody involved, either on the side of providers as well as on the side of the users, we shall be realistic with the expectations. But on the other hand, if we have such a possibility to have this event, yeah, let's try to do our best. We can use those 2 days and then show that the DIASIS has their important role on the scene, and at the same time they can do what actually they are supposed to do, so to stimulate the market and to really trigger the new development, either on the side of the data services or applications. Yeah. Cool. Any additional question? Or if not now, please think about it. I asked Bruno if he can stay with us. We would be very happy. But also, if you will need to run, I'm sure that if something will pops up later, we can share it with you also remotely. So really, for time being, many thanks for your part. Now I would like to go to Angel. If it's okay, could you let me see if I can stop the sharing. Okay, and now you should be able to take over for your side. Angel, can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you, Martin, and good morning to all the participants. My name is Angel Lopez. I'm working at DCMWF, and we have been entrusted by the European Commission to implement one of the services, the climate change service. But we are also running in here at DCMWF the other Copernicus service, which is the atmospheric monitoring. Sorry, there is a. Okay, this is just to put you a little bit in context. What are the services in all the Copernicus picture? So the program covers 3 different components. Is the space component, is the in situ component, and are the services. Our service, the climate change one, is the youngest of all of them. So you can go into the others in the context of your hackathon. You can go to the atmospheric, you can go to the marine, because there is also data which is offered through these services. So I will focus in my presentation in the climate change, which is the one I'm working on, but please consider that also the others are offering interesting data that can be useful for you in the context of the hackathon. So the climate change service is supported by a core infrastructure, which we call the climate data store. And here we offer access to different data sets covering past, present, and future data about climate. It's a distributed system, so we offer data which is produced here internally and managed internally at DCMWF, but we also provide access to different data sources which are managed by external providers. The information that we offer is cover observation, climate reanalysis, climate projections, seasonal forecasts, essential climate variables, and so on. So you will see a complete catalog that you can explore with all this information. There is another important component that we offer through the service, which is the toolbox, which allow you to implement some tools and some processing on top of the data sets that we offer. This is not a DIAS platform on itself, even when we are working on we are involved in a DIAS platform. I'm not going to present this now in this presentation, but I can share some information with Martin later on. But most of these components will be the baseline for the DIAS platform that we are working on. So basically, the whole infrastructure which allow is composed of different layers, depending which are open for different or useful for different kind of users. So the idea is that in one hand, we have all these different data sources. So far, these were accessible through different data portals. Each provider was offering access to their own data. So the idea is that on top of that, we have created, as part of the infrastructure, what we call the adapters, which allow to establish the connection between our service and the different data sources that we are offering through our service. There is an important component, which is the broker, which allow to manage all these requests and distribute the request to the different providers, and also to manage the quality of service. So in order to make rules to prioritize the user requests and so on. And there is on top of that, we have what we call the common data model, which allow to combine this data. This is part of the toolbox. We also have these tools, a set of tools that you can use on top of this data. And then you can create workflows and applications out of these tools and all the data that we offer. Currently, all this infrastructure is developed, is deployed in a cloud in-house. So this is the set of technologies that we are using in order to put in place the service and the infrastructure. And here it is. So during the hackathon, now you can go into the portal, you can register, and you can start discovering and downloading data. As the same that Bruno was saying, in order to download data from this portal, you need to be registered, but registration is completely open and free. We also offer an API in order for users to access all the data that we offer through the API. If you visit the site, you will have access to all the documentation. You also need to generate your key in order to start using it. Everything is explained in this link that you will find in the main page of the site. In case you had any kind of problems by registering or using the system or using any of the data, you will see on the top there is a feedback option, and also there's a contact us that allow you to submit a request, and it will be managed and replied by our service desk. And we will get in touch with you in order to support and to help you in order to use the system and the data. So this is basically the look and feel of the catalog that you will discover in the system. It's allow you to make facet search and text search on top of the data in order to find the data. Is a typical catalog. Once you discover your data, you will have access to more detailed information. And what is important is that you will have the possibility to create ad hoc requests on top of this data in order to constrain the scope of the data to your needs or requirements. Once you create your request, this will be dispatched to the different data providers or the different data sources. And once this data is available to be downloaded, you will receive this message. So this is all under your account. So basically the idea is this one. We have adapters for the different data providers, the different data sources that we are connecting. You go into the system, you discover the product you are interested on. you fill the form. All the forms for all the products are based on the same kind of widgets, so the interface is always similar for all the different kind of data sources. And then you send your request to the data, to all the different the provider, and you will retrieve the data in order to be used. So this is the toolbox, which is also accessible through the system. You will discover the link once you are in the portal. And this is the concept of the common data model. So it's a multidimensional array which allows to combine all different data sources. So far, not all the data sets are compatible with the common data model. So this is something we are working on. It's working in progress. You will see which of them are compatible because they offer the possibility to copy the query to be used onto the toolbox. So here is the workspace of the toolbox. On the left, you see all the different tools that we offer. We also have some examples that you can start working as baseline for your work. And then you have your working area where you create your program, and then you have the visualization site where you see your map or the output of your workflow. So basically, the concept is the same. You send the request to different to one or more data sources. You bring this data into the compute, you apply the tools or the process that you want in top of this data, and then you retrieve this data. So far, this is a service which has been running for 3 months now. And this is the picture in numbers. So we have more than 2,700 registered users. Most of them, they are accessing the data to retrieve data. The community is increasing quite a lot, and we process a huge amount of requests, and we offer access to huge amounts of data. So in my side, this is the scope of the presentation. If you have any question.
Thanks a lot, Angel, for time being. Definitely, I'm very happy that I was lucky to meet you last week in Inspire conference and saw your presentation and realized that the work you are doing might be of significant contribution to initiative we are trying to do on our side. With that, I really do hope that at least the map you had in the previous slide will be much more darker, at least from the region we are trying to address in near future. And again, I would like to also open the room for some questions if there are some. And meanwhile, I'll try to take back the control of the slides to provide the space for Katie. If no questions, then let me just...
While you're sorting it, Angel,
Yeah.
to what extent, again, do you have standardized interfaces on top of all of this?
Well, as I was telling you, we were running against the clock, and now we offer mostly access to raw data. So the idea now is to start creating standard services on top of this data. This is work in progress. So for this hackathon, I regret to say this is not going to be an option. So what we have now is access to the raw data, basically in netcdf and grid formats.
Okay, but you don't have it as a covered service, so we'd have to Or do you have it as coverage at least? I mean, my main interest is how can we link Copernicus with the various in situ products?
For the time being, it's NetCDF raw data, what you are going to discover. There is no...
Okay, but that's a level where we can merge again. Okay, I will now show what I have, show my terrestrial parts, and then you'll understand better where I'm coming from.
Okay.
So this is just the splash screen saying, yes, I'm my company. Next slide, please. Martin?
Yes, I'm just trying to...
Where are you? Which is your mouse?
Yeah, cool, sorry.
Okay, here we've got an overview of the various services which I'd like to bring to the table as a terrestrial complement. The one bit is a coverage service I've just set up with population data from Eurostat. And this could be interesting just to mash against the various raster stuff we've got coming off of Copernicus to, I don't know what. I'm not good at understanding why we're putting it together. I'm good at making it available. But that's the one bit. The second bit goes towards the various sensor data I've been working with. We've got a sensor things API demonstrator running with Slovak meteorological data in real time. So that could be interesting to somehow put against the climate services and see if the view from space and the view down to the ground is somehow related. Similar to this is also the one at the bottom, unfortunately a bit overlapping. The formatting went weird, but the URI is clean. That's the last thing I did for the Austrian Environment Agency when I was working there. That we have all of the Austrian air quality data online in real time according to Inspire. That all comes off of a sensor observation service. Martin.
Sorry, just I wanted to make sure that the slide you are just presenting is properly formatted. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, now that one can see the two different rows. So it's very similar to the sensor things, but it's all using the older OGC service, the sensor observation service, is a paired feature service for the environmental monitoring facilities involved. That's all available in real time. And a final bit I had lying around, which I thought could also be interesting, is we put up the CDDA data, that's the nature protection areas in Europe, and we have that as a web feature service. So I mean, it's simple polygons with information, but it's again, interesting basic information. Martin, now we can start clicking through the other slides just to give a bit more overview of what this stuff does. So this is right now the population distribution as a TIFF. One doesn't see much, but the wider it gets, the more people there are. And it's a 1 kilometer grid, and for each 1 kilometer square, you've got the number of inhabitants. Not sure what to mash that against, but it's nicely gridded and available. Next slide. Or to the previous one that's available as a web coverage service. Now we're at the sensor data. This is now the Slovak meteor data, but we could do the same thing with the Austrian air quality. So here we've got a simple, this is an application Domaž and I did last year for last year's Danube hack. So we've got nice dots on the map with our stations. Martin, next slide. We've got an overview of the individual parameters being measured per station. So we've got air temperature, humidity, pressure, hourly precipitation, and then wind speed and direction for all of these stations. I think it's 51 stations in Slovakia. And next slide, Martin. In our application, you can see the data as simple tables, you can get it as a plot, or you can get access to the JSON encoding. The cool thing about the sensor things is in JSON. The Austrian air quality is in XML. And the protected sites, WFS, I did not do a diagram for, since you can all imagine polygons on a map. So that's the terrestrial perspective I'd like to bring in. And what for me is the big open question is how we bring this together. Because we've seen the DIAs having various Sentinel data and making products out of it and making it available and allowing us to process it. But what I'm missing is how do we get the in situ end cross-linked with this? This is the burning question, which I would like to understand more on by the time that this weekend is over.
Excellent, Katie. Really, thanks a lot for the brief, but I think really touching slides, and exactly you already moved us to this last part of this webinar, and maybe putting my perspective on your question. I'm sure that there might be various options how to ensure this linkage of the in situ and let's say space component. One of the solution may be the target use case. So it means that it will be up to users to put this stuff together. Also, question remains whether it shall be of interest, for example, for the DIASs or for the Commission, somehow stimulate stronger contribution from the in situ component. I know at least from the Inspire side there is relatively strong initiative from the Commission to make sure that the National Mapping Agency and the data producers are making available, let's say, local data for the needs of the Copernicus. It's still not getting to that, let's say, level of observation or really real and highly frequently updated data. But I'm sure that also the event we are planning to have this weekend might provide some questions, but also some pilots and solution what could work in practice. And with that, I'm opening the floor for final questions and discussion. So no any additional comment, question, whatever, what we might benefit having presenters with us today, especially Bruno, as we know that we have him directly now. Let me see, I think I heard some. Okay. No, then I will sum up the event. First of all, really for those who will join us, we are really looking forward to meet you in few days in Bratislava. What we will do, at least from this webinar, we will put together the slides and share them on the event website. Plus, we will clean up the video recording and share it also. I already have to apologize to Bruno that I realized that when he started, for some reason the recording was paused. So maybe few initial minutes will be missing, but we do our best to make sure that we have maximum of the content available. And with that, really let me thank you. I learned a lot during this 1 hour, and we do hope that whatever we will achieve during the hackathon, it will be beneficiary for all involved. So once again, many thanks, and have a nice rest of the day.